Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard from the great state of Louisiana. You're watching this on the Luca Nation Network, and I've got Luca Nation Network's founder, CEO, CFO, CVO, Chief Vision Officer, and agent to the stars, Andrew Goldberg, joining me. And we are literally just going to hit the record button
Right.
and start BSing about this very small window of the NBA season. Andrew, what's up, man? What
What's
do we
up,
got?
Jason?
What are we going to talk about? Tell me the framework. Let's go through a list of stuff that you've thought about and jotted some notes down. And let's just start rambling and give the people what they want.
So, Score Mobile did this thing. It was like 10 overreactions or 10 surprises from the first 10 days of the season. And I really like that. So, I was like, here, I'll put together 10. And I went like a bonus round 11 of
Yep.
like what surprised me early on in the season. We know
Yep.
the NBA is like up until Christmas is almost like preseason in a way. So, all of these are going to be overreactions in the sense that nothing's in stone and we're
Yep.
seeing a ton of parity. But it'll be fun to discuss. It'll be fun to see what people say in the comments because we have blind spots and we don't see everything. But Cajun and I were talking about anytime there's an NBA game on, even on a Sunday when NFL's going, we're watching basketball. So
Yeah. Yeah, we're guilty. I'm guilty for sure. Like I'm not the most objective cat out there. Like if you're asking me, I'm watching the NBA 1, I'm watching the Premier League soccer 2, and then everything else is a distant third, for God's sakes. Last night I was doing some research here at my office and I had freaking spike ball on. Have you ever watched those kids play spike ball?
I saw that on my TV guide and then actually
People are
turned it on.
nuts.
I was tempted.
Andrew, they're nuts, man. I don't know how they do. I don't know how anybody ever hits the little target. Those people are freaking amazing and fantastic at it. I don't care about it, but it's like interesting to observe and watch how talented those people are. It's pretty cool.
I think the movie Dodgeball had ripple effects on our culture. Like now we're seeing ESPN Ocho in real life.
Yeah, we are.
Ball. We have spike ball.
We are.
I mean, who would have thought?
We are. All right, let's go. Let's do your list. Let's stick to the NBA.
So 10 surprises from the first 10 days. I'll run through them and you're going to comment, okay?
Sure. Are they in order or anything, or is it just 10
No.
surprises?
No order at all.
Fair
So I'll actually jump around. Like I have them 1 through 10, but I'm going to jump around with the stuff that I think is most relevant for people all the way down to like some funny ones. And number 1 is I'm shocked how bad the Warriors defense is. I'm shocked how bad the Warriors defense is. We knew they're going to get the best shot from everybody, but they give up 129 points to the Detroit Pistons. And here's how you know it's bad. The Detroit Pistons, every single one of their starters was in double figures.
Yeah, I saw that. 4 out of the 5 scored 20 points last game against them, except for everybody except for Jaden Ivey. And I think he had 18. They almost had 5 starters with 20 plus. I'm with you. And the interesting thing, Andrew, about it is they were a good defensive team last year. We know, obviously, offensively, they're capable of explosions, right?
Sure.
I thought they'd be significantly better on defense because Wiseman's presence, I thought, would shore up a lot of the holes inside, because he's a true big man. Looney's kind of a poor man's big man. He's not really even a big man. I guess they're all just getting a step slower, I mean, Poole is obviously, on the uptick. Moody's on the uptick. Kuminga's on the uptick, but Poole and Moody don't help you on defense. And apparently Wiseman's not right now. Maybe he's not playing enough. I don't know. I guess Draymond has got to be a step slower. You would expect Steph and Clay really looks to have taken a step back to me just so far. And again, small sample size, right?
Kerr says that Dre's the worst non-important game player in the league. And these early on games, it's hard for him to turn up because he's a player that rides his emotions, right? So he needs to turn up. And then there's individual versus team defense. And I think Wiseman is athletic, but he's lost on defense, right? Yeah. He's lost at covering the pick and roll. And Moody, he's ready to shoot on offense, but he also is he looks a little bit lost on defense. So I think it'll be a little bit to get these guys in. Second one, addition by subtraction. So when this happens, I've noticed this pattern quite a bit in the NBA. It's Garland got poked in the eye, so he's been out for the first week of the season. Spider filled in, and they're on a 5-game winning streak, 5-1. The Cavs are, I think they have like a 12-point differential, playing incredible. But here's where it gets interesting for me. When Garland comes back, who gets the ball? Him and Spider is essentially the same player. And actually, I would say having Garland out has allowed Spider to get more of the ball and feature himself in the offense. How is this going to play out for the rest of the season when Garland's back?
I think Garland gets the ball. I think Garland's a true point guard. Garland's a really efficient player. I mean, we saw, Spider Mitchell be the primary ball handler in Utah, despite the fact Conley was the point guard. I mean, Spider was the ball dominator, right? We've seen that, and we've seen it tried, and we've seen it not work. And so I think that's why he went to Cleveland. So now he's playing with like a young Mike Conley, basically, right? Mike Conley was a really good player when he was young, right? In his younger years. And I think Garland's got the potential to be better than Mike Conley throughout his career. So we'll see how that goes. But I think they hand the ball right back to Garland. What do you think? I mean, I understand, they flourished in these few games where Mitchell's played. Again, they're really talented with or without Garland. That's a really talented team with some serious depth. I mean, last game, your guy Dean Wade and Love combined for like 50 points, for God's sakes. And that's like their 8th and 9th best players on their team, 7th, 8th best players on their team. So that is a very scary young team. From a Bucks fan's perspective, I'm raising my hand. They worry the hell out of me.
I'll give you guys a soccer metaphor. I hope you don't lose me here. But when Messi went to PSG, there was a feeling out period of Neymar needs the ball, Mbappe needs the ball, Messi needs the ball. And there's a feeling out period. So I'm not saying it's not going to work or it is. It's just interesting. 1 week in the season, Garland was out. And it might have actually been a benefit. Addition by subtraction early on to get him involved. Yeah. Next one, AD and the Lakers. So this is how I worded it. Like a symphony, if they can figure out what instrument each player plays, this team can be very, very dangerous. So AD is averaging 2.4 blocks a game, or 2.4 steals a game, 2.0 blocks a game, defensive player of the year numbers. Their issue is shooting from the perimeter. And if Westbrook can embrace that sixth man role, this team, with their troubling start, can be a problem.
No, I just disagree. Anthony Davis has been great so far. LeBron's put up his numbers so far. Westbrook had his first really good game last night, and I actually watched it late last night with my son before I dozed off at halftime. But Westbrook actually looked good last night. It's just not enough there, man. Just not enough there. And I'll be honest with you, AD was grabbing his back repeatedly last night. Did you watch that game or did you see the highlights? I wouldn't be surprised if we got the old faithful Davis out, back spasms, Davis day-to-day back, blah, blah, blah. I just don't – man, look, Andrew, I don't think they can guard. I don't think they can shoot it from the perimeter. I don't think this is an overreaction. I think this is just a reaction. I mean, I just don't think they have what it takes to come out of the West. Now, can they sneak into the play? Well, not sneak in, but are they squarely a play-in team? I think they are. I think when you got LeBron and AD, that's just – there's too much star power there. If they can each play 65, 70 games, I think they're a play-in team. I don't envision any way that team is a top 6 team. And I certainly don't see any way they come out of the West unless, you know what I'm going to say, the trade gets done, unless Westbrook gets moved. If Westbrook gets moved for 2 viable players in their prime, Hield and Turner's one they talk about. There's a couple other possibilities out there where people will want to eat that contract for Westbrook. You throw Hield and Turner in there with like LeBron, Lonnie Walker, and AD. Now you've got a starting 5. Now you got a starting 5 because Turner can shoot a little bit from the perimeter, for a big man, and he protects the rim and let AD play his natural position at the 4. And then you got Buddy Hield can shoot the piss out of it. I mean, he can really shoot it with the best of them. So,
look, again, all that's true. And you guys that listen to our show with Cage, you know how I feel about the Lakers. This is surprises in the first 10 days. More kind of like what could happen. Obviously, AD could get injured. But at his best, man, I don't think most people even realize he's averaging 2 steals and 2.5 blocks a game.
He's playing great. He's all NBA numbers in a 6-game sample size, but this may be the 6 games out of the next, out of the first 20 that he's actually healthy, But and then the other thing is like I didn't expect the Lakers to be. My overreaction would be, I would tell people the Lakers aren't 1-5 bad, right? The Lakers are not going to be 10-50 after 60 games, right? We're not going to extrapolate this 10x and get 10-50. But again, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that's what you're looking at. There's just too many deep, good young teams in the West.
Well, let me throw you this scenario. The Lakers somehow make it through this season unscathed. They get a 7 seed. Mm-hmm. And they play the number 2 seed Phoenix Suns.
Everybody's healthy?
Everybody's healthy.
Did they trade Westbrook or do they still have him?
Westbrook is doing his thing from the sixth man, and he has free reign. LeBron's not on the court. AD's not on the court. He's just relentless attack.
But see, they are on the court. He finished the game last night with them. I just don't see it. Patrick Beverley's a bad shooter. Lonnie Walker's not a great shooter. He's not a good shooter. The Reeves kid can and will probably shoot it better as we go throughout the season. I've never seen LeBron succeed without shooters around him. That's just always been the playbook with LeBron, is like spread the floor and do it, Same thing we're seeing with Doncic. Doncic is the exact opposite. Doncic doesn't have any creators at all around him, and that's my concern with him. His usage rate is over 40 right now, which is preposterous, but he's just got a bevy of shooters everywhere. Even the guys coming off the bench can shoot the ball. The only one that can't shoot is Norman Powell. He's the only guy on the team that can't shoot, or won't shoot, I should say.
For me, I actually didn't put Luka or the Mavs on here. To me, the Mavs are basically the same.
Where they are. Yeah, they are what they are. We know what they are.
What they are. They are what they are. I'll go to the Nets. Like before the season, I bet if you polled people, you'd say that the Nets would finish with a better record than the Lakers. I think this Nets team is a calamity. So if you think about it, as advertised, right? We'd see these advertisements. Ben Simmons was the perfect fit for this team. You're surrounded with shooters. Kevin Durant, Kyrie, TJ Warren's coming back. Seth Curry's an amazing shooter. Joe Harris, right? In theory, as advertised, this team should be perfect. But yet they lack grit. They lack a leader. And Simmons looks like he lost it all. I think that this Nets team is in a world of trouble.
I agree with you. And I'm surprised. I am. I thought Ben Simmons is a better fit for this group than Harden. I'm not saying Ben Simmons is better than Harden. I'm saying I thought he was a better fit because the skill set that Harden brings is duplicative of Kyrie and KD. And going back to your deal where, Mitchell and Garland, it's like, whose ball is it? Whose turn is it? What do we do? Where do we stand? Simmons fits perfectly because he stands in the corner and gets the hell out of the way. But if he gets the ball in transition, we've seen Ben Simmons throughout his prime. This is a guy that was an all-NBA player, 3-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year with an asterisk. He doesn't look anything remotely like the same player. And I think part of it is physically, but I think a big part of it is mentally. I think there's just something wrong. And I thought maybe it had been fixed. It doesn't look fixed to me. He's got no confidence.
It's simple. He doesn't attack the rim. You don't have to shoot.
No, that's it. I'm not talking about zero confidence in his shot. I don't expect him to ever shoot three-pointers or any perimeter shots as long as he plays basketball in the NBA. I don't ever expect that to change. But what I did expect to change is I expected to see the Ben Simmons revenge tour, basically the FU comeback. Hey, y'all forgot who I was. Watch me guard the other team's best player. Watch me lock them up. Watch me average 10, 10, and 10. And we're getting 7, 6, and 7 with no threes, no free throws, no field goal attempts.
Yep. 7, 6, and 7 in today's day and age when there's 100 shots put up. Like that's
basically a 35-year-old Draymond Green numbers. 7, 7, and 7. That's what he does.
You're gonna like this one. It's insane to me how much better the Bucks are with Brook Lopez in this lineup. So they're averaging 5 blocks per game, Brook and Giannis between the two of them. And if you guys just back up, the Bucks were on an interesting ride the last few years, right? So they were the first seed right before COVID happened, and COVID completely derailed them. They came into the bubble. They looked a little lost, right? They were riding momentum in March of 2020, lost that momentum. And then if you guys remember, the beginning of last year, Brook got hurt. He wasn't starting the game. With Brook Lopez in this lineup, it's impossible to score in the paint versus Giannis and Brook. Thoughts?
Well, part of that, look, there's a lot more reasons it's difficult to score on the Bucks than Brook Lopez, but I'm with you. Now, look, Brook Lopez, I've got it pulled up over here on Monster. Brook Lopez is right now the number 22 ranked fantasy player. And part of that, it's an aberration. He's averaging 3.6 blocks a game. He's a great shot blocker. He's a top 10 shot blocker in the league for sure. He's not going to average 3.6 blocks a game, especially not. The NBA is continuing to transition away from scoring at the rim. So I think that number is going to obviously trickle down a little bit, but he makes a humongous difference. And look, there's nobody that I cuss at more and then clap for more than Brook Lopez. He does some of the stupidest stuff I've ever seen on offense. And then, on defense, sometimes they switch, and I'm like, why are y'all switching? But he's playing pretty good in the drop coverage. He's not doing bad. Look, they're elite defensively. Giannis, we know, is probably top 5 in the league. Certainly can guard 1 through 5. Brooks, an elite rim protector, and is doing better at drop coverage, even though he's pretty big and slow. Drew Holiday is beyond special on the defensive end. Middleton's not back, and he's a plus defender in the NBA. He's not an elite, lockdown guy, but he's a plus defender in the NBA. So that team's trouble, man. All they're missing is a truly elite little second guy. You know what I mean? Like right now they're starting Grayson Allen. They bring Wesley Matthews off, who's a little, like a little terrier, barking at people and stirring crap up. He's like a little miniature Draymond Green, really. I mean, a different player, but you know what I mean? Like just stirring crap up, like Patrick Beverley kind of guy. Poor man's Patrick Beverley, if there is such a thing. So they're just trouble, man. The Bucks are trouble, dude. And offensively, they're elite too because they, Drew Holiday can run the offense. Giannis can run the offense. I mean, they would have won. I still think they win the title last year if Chris Middleton's healthy. They were 1 game away from beating the Celtics, right? Didn't they go to 7? Yeah, and went to 7 without Middleton, man. And Drew Holiday was terrible.
For sure. I would say they need not a Poole. I mean, Poole's amazing. Hero, like another guy off the bench that when their starters are all tired that could go and get buckets for themselves.
Yeah.
The reason I bring up Brook Lopez is 99% of people out there don't even rate him. And he's such an interesting final piece to them on defense. Yeah. And when he's making threes, which he shoots threes at like 42%, which
doing it right now. He's shooting right now. Yeah. And he came back last year towards the end of the season, so he wasn't fully himself last year either. I don't think he had very many games under his belt when he came back for the playoffs, if I recall. I'm not sure.
You're 100% right. It was a back injury, which is always really hard.
Yeah, he missed a lot. He missed a lot of the season. But anybody who plays fantasy basketball is very aware of Brook Lopez because he gives you that really unique combination of high blocks and high threes and high free throw percentage. That's a very weird combination right there. High blocks and high free throw percentage is just very unique. Not very many people do that for you, and he's one of them. So fantasy people will sing the praises of Brook Lopez for sure.
Here's a name you guys are going to start hearing in cards and in the hobby a little bit more as the year progresses. Bennedict Mathurin out of Indy. Comes off the bench, big guard, 6'6", 2. It says 210. I looking at him, he looks closer to 225, if we could be honest. And this is his rookie year. The guy is a problem. 43% from 3 per 36 minutes. He's averaging 28 points a game, and he's been an incredible. These are amazing numbers for
big numbers, man.
Rookie.
Yeah,
off the bench. So this is someone to really look out for. And this Indiana rebuild faster than we could have thought, maybe.
It may not be a rebuild, right? We thought it was. We thought they were going to dump Heald Turner in Chase Victor Wembanyama. I think a lot of people, not just in the hobby, but just like who watch NBA basketball, just assumed, well, you can't possibly win with what you got. So let's move. No, Mathurin's the real deal. He was my projected second most likely to win Rookie of the Year behind Banchero. I don't know how much longer they bring him off the bench. I mean, he's too damn good. He might be the second best player on their team, including Heald and including Turner. Long term, he might be a better player than Halliburton. Right now, he's probably not. But I think long term, he might be fantastic. I mean, 20 years old, 20.5 years old, came out of Arizona, came NBA ready, big physical, strong body. You're right. He doesn't look 210. He looks like 220. Like he's a tank.
Right.
He's the real deal.
Don't see these guys at 20 fill out like this. Like if you remember Ja. It takes a few years. He looks NBA ready at 20.
Look at Giannis. Look at Giannis's body when he was 20. I mean, great player. You saw potential, but his arms did not look like Bennedict Mathurin or Paolo Banchero. Let's put it that way. They do now, but they didn't back then. It took some time. Mathurin, I think it's a 2-horse race for Rookie of the Year. That's my way too early Rookie of the Year prediction. Banchero 1, Mathurin 2. In some order, it depends on health, of course. Both of those guys are going to have an absolute green light, right, for their teams. I think both of their teams are going to need points from them, and they get the ball a lot. Even though Mathurin's coming off the bench, he's almost his PER is almost 20. He's going to get the ball plenty and get plenty of field goal attempts up. And we know Banchero is not bashful. That dude's bringing it. I think he was 5 for 20 last game. He's got no conscience already. So we know he may not have the highest ceiling of all these guys, but he definitely has the highest floor for sure. Like he is a sure thing. He's a problem.
He's fundamentally and offensively ready, Banchero, but athletically, I think he has a ceiling. And NBA still is athleticism and fundamentals.
Bouncy, man.
And shout out to Canada, who's producing some really awesome talent recently.
Hell yeah. Big time. Big time. I shouldn't say 2-horse race for sure, but if I'm a betting man, which I'm not, I never gamble on except on cards, but on the NBA, I would say Ivy and Keegan Murray are in the conversation. Ivy, I worry about his ability to shoot the ball. Again, opportunity means more than anything for Rookie of the Year. Brogdon's a great example of winning it, Dario Saric was in the the Rookie of the Year race. Just getting the minutes is, a must-have. So I think those four guys are clearly going to get the minutes and kind of be in that mix. But I'd say Banchero and Mathurin have the minutes and the elite talent. Ivy, I worry about his perimeter shooting. Will he get it? Maybe, but I don't think he figures it out this year. I think he's going to shoot a pretty low percentage this year.
He has Caden, he has Sadiq Bey in front of him. He's going to get less touches, but it's just so early. Injuries. Basketball is a long season, and it has this weird thing where it's like you have the before the new year, then you have Christmas, and you have after. It's almost like 3 seasons in one.
Yeah.
When is Kawhi going to start getting the AD treatment?
I was just about to talk about
injury management. For how much longer are we going to call it injury management versus he is AD? He's just always injured.
There's something going on, man. Look, I'm telling you, there's something they're not sharing. He's been out forever. He wasn't ready the first game. He's on a minutes restriction. Okay, that's great. He plays 21 minutes and 17 seconds, 6 for 12. He's trying to play basketball. Sits out the next game. Okay, comes back how many days later? 3 days later with 48 hours off. No, 72 hours off. Plays only 20 minutes, goes 2 for 6, and looks absolutely terrible. Then sits. There's no back-to-back here. Then sits, and sits. And so he has now sat 3 games in a row, and it's not like they don't need to win some games here. I mean, I know it's early in the season, but they lost all 4 of their last 4 games, 2-4. At some point, he needs to play. And if he's not playing and they got blown out by my Pelicans, my secondary favorite team, right? My side PC team, lost by 21. He didn't play. I think there's more going on here. This is not game management. When you play 2 out of 5 games or 2 out of 6 games, and you've only played 41 minutes on the season, that's not like resting somebody. That means something's going on with that knee. I don't think that's being disclosed and shared with everybody else.
Quad as well. He sat out a whole season with Spurs with the quad. It's been like lingering for years. But here's where actually, as someone who's played sports, you know this as well. What about the rest of the guys not knowing what to expect?
Yeah.
Right? Either in or you're out, which is fine. It's not against Kawhi, but it's like going day in and day out, like, am I going to play the whole game? Is Kawhi going to play today? Is he coming off the bench? Is he a starter? It's such an awkward position for the rest of the roster, and it has to weigh on them. So
I don't know how he rebounds from this in the card hobby. I don't think he's not the most collectible dude out there just because his personality is so demure. And now you've got this. This is what I mean. Look, you're talking about a guy who's got 3 titles, right? 2 titles, 2 Finals MVPs. Defensive Player of the Year. Did he ever win Defensive Player of the Year? Let me scroll. Yeah. 2-time NBA champ, 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 7 times All-Defensive, 2 times Finals MVP, 2 times NBA Defensive Player of the Year. But we're going to remember him for this crap. Like, I think long-term, there's so much of this at the tail end of his career that I think this is what people are going to remember the most. It worries me. Usually people are more forgiving when people retire and then they – look back on the glory days and kind of reminisce. We saw it with Kobe. We saw it with Carmelo. We saw it with Jordan, even after his Wizards years. We hyper-focus on the good. I don't know if we're going to get there with Kawhi. There's so much bad. Guys that worry me reputation-wise, Kawhi, AD, Ben Simmons. They've done great things on the court, but, like, the recency bias is, like, awful. It's awful. People's perception of them is terrible. Westbrook's dealing with that crap right now.
The greatest ability is availability. And we talk about Jordan in so many stats, but this one stat with Jordan is he missed like 7 games in 12 seasons after he broke his foot early on.
Yeah.
And this is a physical era of NBA. This is when the Pistons used to beat him up. And the greatest ability, and my coaches say, is availability. Yep. Kawhi has all the tools. I mean, his hands are massive. Like, having massive hands. I don't know if you guys saw the DeAndre Hopkins catch yesterday from Kyler, the one-hander. that's a huge advantage, but you got to be on the court. So Kawhi is an incredible talent. I am worried about his career. I really am.
Yeah. I think there's something going on.
And he's Cajun. He's one of those guys that he doesn't love the game that much. He'd walk away. He doesn't care. Like that's the vibe.
Seems that way to me. I mean, I hate to guess, but like I get that. That's my perception as well. As like, the one thing about Russ, Russ is dealing with public perception issues. Nobody doubts that Russell Westbrook wants to rip your freaking head off.
Correct.
We doubt that he can't make good decisions and he can't shoot a basketball, but no one doubts that he wants to destroy his opponent. But Kawhi, I don't see that lately, man, for sure.
And when we see it in a package like Giannis, who wants to rip your face off, but also loves the NBA, that's beauty. Jordan loves the game, wants to rip your face off. Kobe loves the game, wants to rip your face off. When you see that, and both of those are in a package, that's where you have all-time great, right?
Yeah.
Bird's another one. He want to rip your face off, love the game.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I have 2 or 3 more. Some of these get really fun. I'm going to go here. Lack of structure. So any organization is only as good as the structure it has, in my opinion. And Doc Rivers cannot put structure into this offense. You'll see one game Harden's going to be the dribbler and the shooter. The next game it's Maxey, and the third game it's Embiid. They're all amazing. That's not what's going to get you to the championship. You need to have some structure. And I don't think Doc is the guy to lead you there. And I wrote a quote, randomness doesn't lead to predictable results.
Yeah. You were very high on the Sixers preseason, and I threw a little shade on that, and I was like, I don't see it. I don't see the depth necessary to be elite in the regular season. And you liked their depth, and you threw out names like DeAnthony Melton, who I think sucks, PJ Tucker, who I think sucks, and a couple of other 3-and-D. I think they're terrible. I just don't think they're really good.
Think they're terrible. Like,
I don't think that they're starting players on a perennial contender. I mean, I don't think they're starting players on a championship contender team.
But DeAnthony Melton's like an 8 or 9 guy. Should be on your an 8th and 9th. And PJ Tucker's a lock up the best player. He's a 3-and-D guy.
He's not locking anybody up anymore. Watch it. Like he's getting by on reputation, like Draymond Green. Like he's not locking anyone up anymore. He's grabbing, he's holding, he's trying to keep up with people. He can guard bigs better than smalls, just like Draymond now. He's not moving his feet and keeping anybody in front of him. Watch him. He's not what he used to be, but he's thriving on the reputation from prior years. But nevertheless, the issue with that team is Maxey and Harden. It's like that's a tough one right there. Do you play through Embiid like we know works and has worked in the past? Or do we let Harden play his Rockets brand of Harden? Or do we let this young cat who's got tremendous potential flourish? I mean, we saw an explosion from Maxey the other day, and then we've seen games where Maxey doesn't get very many field goal attempts. So what's it going to be? You're right. Random, arbitrary, shot selection and who gets the FGAs is an interesting issue. And is that a coach issue, or is that something the players need to talk out themselves? Do we give too much credit and too much blame to Doc on that, or is that
no blame? He's the worst coach in.
Well, you're blaming him right now.
I'm not an ESPN analyst. He gets no blame.
Yeah. I think people are scared to blame Doc Rivers because they think he's this incredible coach, and I'm not sure he is.
I've never in my time seen a coach do less with more. I mean, the Clippers team was fantastic. That was
a fantastic team.
Blake Griffin in his prime. DeAndre Jordan in his prime, Chris Paul in his prime, JJ Redick, one of the best 3-point shooters, Jamal Crawford. I mean, all the way.
They checked a lot of boxes. With that team. Yeah.
And then you go and you have Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Rajon Rondo, Kevin Garnett, and a whole slew of role players.
Yeah.
We think of bench and starters as 2 separate units, but if you guys watch the Warriors, they do some really interesting stuff by mixing personnel. Right? By keeping Curry on the floor with the 3 rookies like Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody. Right? So they run different offenses about the personnel that's on the court. So I don't think it necessarily has to matter Harden or Maxey starts. You can use one of them for the second unit and make sure that you always have some sort of point guard, ball handler, someone that keeps that team in check, even if you're a starter.
A lot of teams do that. I mean, in fact, 95% of the teams in the NBA find a way to keep their best primary ball handler or one of their two primary ball handlers on the floor at all times. Very rarely does a team have, an absolutely elite, high usage guy coming off the bench running the show truly with the second unit. Usually it's a one starter plays a little bit long. You see it with Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Yep. One of them stays in the game, so one of them's almost always on the floor. You see your backup guy. What's his name? Mazzulla.
I actually haven't watched a lot of the Celtics this year, to be honest. The
Celtics this year. They look good.
I think they're the sum of the parts. What is it? The whole is more than the sum of the parts. Like it always feels like that's what they do with that team. Like Brogdon, okay, he's good, but like they know how to use it. Derek White, good, but like in that team, he fits really well. So it's going to be on Doc learning how to put these guys in, how to use these guys.
Well, there's a lot of pressure. There's no way they let Doc go before the end of the season, huh? They give him the whole season. I don't know. You're a Philly guy.
When you got a name, you got a name, man. Mm-hmm. Brand matters in this world, for better or worse. And Doc has a name, and
well, it's early. Like we're 6 games into this thing, man. The Sixers could
pattern with Doc has time and time again. It's the same shit with Doc. He doesn't know how to use talent. I think his IQ for basketball is very low. Not my opinion. Observation. Let's move on. SGA, man. This guy gets no attention, no love, and literally in all aspects of the game, he is a dominant force. He's a big point guard. He's a good passer. He's a great rebounder for a point guard. Awkward shot, but a good shooter. On the defensive end, he's solid. In all aspects of the game, SGA is a problem, and he's clutch. He's had times where he's brought this team back for like 16 down, I think, to beat the Mavs recently. OKC, man. Interesting. That was another one.
The only aspect of the game he is not proficient at is three-point shooting. He's a horrific three-point shooter. And he shot it a little bit better this year, but I've got his – let me pull up his let me get you over here so y'all can see.
I hate percentages without context, just so you know. Because Kobe had a low percentage shooter.
Kobe is a terrible three-point shooter. I don't know what do you want to say? I mean, when you've got a sample size that large, your percentage is indicative of whether you are or you are not a good three-point shooter. And I don't have his
percentage comes from. I would say attempts come from strategy, and percentage is like an effect of that. So like some coaches want you to have the free for all, and like if the offense is struggling, just go and do volume shots. You're our best scorer.
Well, I don't think he's a great three-point shooter. I think he has had an elite beginning to the season. He's a number 1 ranked fantasy player, number 1 out of everybody.
All right.
Number 1 in an 8-category Roto league, right? So in a true 8-category league, he's number 1. No, he's having a great start to the season. Giddey's banged up a little bit. I don't even know what happened to Giddey. He's missed the last few. Is it serious? I haven't really paid attention, but obviously that's given him the freedom to take more shots, and he's got to play more minutes and do more things. Playing almost 37 minutes a game. But that's something young guys like that can do. I agree with you, man. I think he's got the potential to be an elite defensive point guard. I think it's a weird fit with him and Giddey. I think, not that Giddey's the defender that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is, but, say SGA, Giddey, Halliburton, all those guys kind of remind me of the same player. And you kind of want one of those guys. I'm not sure you want 2 of those guys. You almost would rather have like a Tyler Hero as your sidekick rather than a Giddey. You know what I mean? Just to have a guy that's there to complement you and play off almost like a Middleton instead of a Giddey, or vice versa. Just like Halliburton's got healed, right? You don't want, like DeJounte Murray and Halliburton are the same.
You don't want a mini-me. You don't want a derivative version of it.
Yeah, it's duplicative. They don't complement each other. You just said, the whole is better than the sum of the parts. Well, I think this is the opposite. The sum of the parts are probably better than the whole because you're not getting the most out of either one of them because they don't really complement each other. But OKC will figure it out. Again, I know they've won some games, but they're not gonna. So that'll stop. I mean, all of this is smoke and mirrors. And that's one thing I was going to get to. Spurs, Jazz, OKC, smoke and mirrors. This is not going to – there is no way in hell this lasts for the whole season. No way.
3-3. I don't know what's lasting, but
well, that's not lasting. The Thunder are not going to win half of their games for sure. No. And I can tell you right now, Spurs and your Jazz and your Spurs have come out 5-2. So that's not going to last.
So real quick, so for like that complement. If you guys want to see like that in action, Mark Jackson once said the best backcourt is Curry and Clay, and that's because Clay complement Curry so much. Clay doesn't need a ton of balls, so that's a good example.
That is a great example, because if you ask Klay Thompson to go get his own and create his own and play like SGA, even in his prime, that's not Klay Thompson.
No.
He's just not that player. And Steph Curry is sort of like the, give me the ball, let me ISO, let me make all the decisions. It's like Doncic is the same way. You look at the guys around Doncic. While I bitch that I do wish he had at least another reasonable secondary ball handler. I know people are going to look at the thing and say Spencer Dinwiddie. Okay, fine, Spencer Dinwiddie. But he's surrounded by a ton of catch and shoots. Your Bullocks, your Dorian Finney-Smith, 3-and-D wing guys, and Tim Hardaway Jr. So we'll see. I don't know. That is the ultimate example in the ultra modern NBA is Steph and Klay of two backcourt players being very, very different, but complementing each other and making each one better than the other. Yeah, for sure.
The last take, and we'll go to the Jazz, because the Jazz aren't as bad of a roster as people thought. They're just not deep. So 1-2 injuries could derail this entire team, but they still have good vets. That, like, if you look at the roster, every one of those vets are decent players.
Keep talking. I'll pull up depth charts.
Well, their depth is lacking. 1 or 2 injuries, they're cooked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can say that about a lot of teams but in the NBA now. But, yeah. I mean, I think Conley's done. Olynyk is a journeyman, but not terrible.
Not terrible.
Jordan Clarkson shouldn't be starting. He's on not that he's not good enough to, but he's starting there. He and Sexton, right? That's a good example of Conley and Clarkson may not be as good as Sexton and Clarkson, but they complement each other better and play better together. Sexton's probably a starting caliber, point guard on a low level, one of the lower level starting point guards. Taylor Horton Tucker, I never saw it, and I still don't see it with him. I don't understand. I don't understand why people have so much hype around him. Malik Beasley shoots a lot and shot it really well, actually. I think he led the NBA in threes last year, believe it or not. I'm not sure if that's true, but double check me. And then we'll see Walker Kessler. Agbaji, we haven't got a chance to see. He's a rookie out of Kansas. I think he was Big 12 Player of the Year, so he's a rookie that we haven't really got a chance to see. I suspect he's what?
He's older.
He is, but I think he can do it. I mean, I think he can play. I think he can help. And I would be shocked if we didn't see a lot more of him as we get further into the season. Ainge, here's what it comes down to. Ainge has got to figure out a way to stop this. This has to stop. You can't keep winning. This has to stop. All of the Gobert trade, the Donovan Mitchell trade, all of that in the back of his mind, he had that 7'5" lanky Frenchman, Victor Wembanyama, on his mind as his master plan and getting as many ping pong balls as possible to make a run at that kid. So I would be shocked if the Jazz won half their games this year and they're 5-2. And I hate it because it's a feel good story. Jazz and Spurs, same could be said. It's just not the rosters. I know you like the guys on there. It's just not a good enough roster to win 45, 50 games.
I like the 6 guys you mentioned, but NBA, it's a long season. It's a lot of games. So when you need to use 7, 8, 9, 10, and that drop off goes to Taylor Horton Tucker is your 8th guy, you're screwed. The guy's terrible.
Yeah. Look at the Warriors' 8th guy. James Wiseman, compare Wiseman to Taylor Horton Tucker, it's just, yeah. I mean, how much would the Jazz love to have, Kuminga, Moody, Wiseman, fill in the blank, man. Any of those guys would be massive additions for the Jazz, and they're fighting for minutes on the Warriors.
Last one. Cat called out Edwards for eating Popeyes. That was really interesting. Did you see that clip or no?
I heard about it. Cat's a strange bird. He's a strange dude. Tell me more about it. I didn't follow it all the way because I was like, I don't know if it's real or true or what. And why would he say that?
Leadership is an interesting thing because some people are like, I don't want to lead. Other people are like, I'm a natural born leader. And then there's this gray area where like some people want to lead, but they don't know how. That's where I would put this one in. This bucket of like, this team needs leadership. Someone wants to step in that role. But to me, I don't think any of them are actually leaders.
I don't think Gobert's the guy. We know D'Angelo Russell's not. Cat hasn't done it yet. He can't. I mean, he's got some individual accolades and made all NBA teams and all-star teams, and he's a tremendous player. But, I think anybody who looks at this, Minnesota Timberwolves team and is honest with themselves, I mean, I think the future of that franchise is in the hands of Anthony Edwards, man. I mean, he's got the potential to be a very elite offensive player in the NBA. Very, very, very elite. You don't like it. You're looking around.
Because I know it in how I think about it in my head. It's hard to verbalize, and I'm like, I think Edwards has all the physical tools. He says all the right things. My intuition just says he's not going to be it.
I think he is.
Give me your comp. Give me your 90s comp that you think Edwards maybe will likely turn into, and then his ceiling. Like an Allen Houston?
I think he is going to be significantly better than Allen Houston. Keep going. Let's think of some other guys that we can comp
Larry Hughes, Michael Redd.
I mean, dude, he's on a completely different level, potential and talent-wise than those guys. Completely different level. He is an unquestioned all-NBA player at some point. Look, again, just to be clear, I don't want a single Anthony Edwards card. His price point was too high from day one. So I don't want
all-NBA player, all-NBA talent. Because I agree.
All-NBA player. He is making an all-NBA team. He is making multiple all-NBA teams. I have no hesitation in projecting him to do that over his career. Again, when you can't project rings onto people because it's a team game and there's so much more that goes into it. I mean, who would have thought Barkley would never have a ring? Who would have thought Stockton Malone would never have a ring? Stuff like that. Olajuwon never probably would have had a ring if Jordan hadn't decided to play baseball or got banished, whatever you want to believe. You can't project rings, but you could project individual statistical accolades barring some unforeseen injury. I don't see any scenario where Anthony Edwards doesn't continue to improve and become an all-NBA player. But here's the deal. Towns is already an all-NBA player. Is he the third or fourth best center in the NBA? Jokic, Embiid. Then you got to fill in the blanks. Towns, Gobert, Ayton-ish type players, I mean.
I'll leave this as a cliffhanger for you guys listening to the show. What do you guys think about this Timberwolves team, and specifically Edwards? Do you agree with Andrew? Do you agree with Brian? Is there some nuance? Share your comps of who you think Edwards reminds you of. Because I don't know. I don't have a great read on him. My intuition, like I said, something for me is missing, but
there's a lot around him, Andrew. I think if we were watching him play on the Thunder instead of SGA, I think you'd be watching something special happen. I think you'd be watching 28 to 30 a night if you played on the Thunder, or if you played on the Magic next to Banchero, or if you played on the Rockets instead of Jalen Green, if he played on the Rockets next to KPJ. I think he's in a situation now where he's got a winning team. He's got a lot of people around him and a lot of mouths to feed. And I think he's just not sure yet. Are these my shots to take? Are these my 25 shots?
For sure.
Or are these my 17 shots? You know what I mean?
For sure.
It just takes a while to figure that out and to sort it out. But the numbers don't lie, and they'll sort themselves out. And by the end of the year, we'll know who the alpha on that team is. It's either going to be Towns or it's going to be Anthony Edwards. We'll see. If they can pull it together, that's going to be a weird, strange team to play in the playoffs. No fun finishing around the rim on that group, man.
I think that's fair. And guys, I left a lot of teams off. I mean, I'll popcorn to you, man. I didn't talk about the Heat. I didn't talk about the Pelicans. We didn't talk about the Rockets.
Yeah.
Anything on your list as we prep for this, 10 days of NBA, 10 overreactions, 10 takes, 10 headlines. Anything I missed?
No, I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff. I had some notes written down, just stuff to talk about, in the 2 weeks that we've gotten to watch. Surprise teams that were bad, Nets and Lakers. We talked about it. I didn't think they were – I thought the Nets would be very good. I thought they would click. I thought Ben was going to be a large part of it. I'm just wrong so far. I'll probably be wrong by the All-Star break because it doesn't look like Ben's turning this thing around. The Lakers, I don't think they can be as bad as they've performed yet, so They have surprised me that they're that bad. Surprise good. Spurs, Jazz, Blazers, right? Blazers atop the Western Conference. Now Lillard's out. Let's see if my guy Ant Simons can kind of run the show. They got a nice rookie there. If you're a card collector and you're looking for a prospect, again, I'm not going to buy any because I don't really prospect anymore. But Shadon Sharp is very talented. Very, very talented.
Say the name again.
Shadon Sharp, not to be confused with Day'Ron Sharp, who's a big stiff that plays for the Nets. Shadon Sharp is a kid I think somehow he reclassified and somehow he got to Kentucky. So he was on Kentucky's roster, and they could have played him last year, but they opted for him just to be with Kentucky's program with Calipari, and he practiced with them. And then NBA scouts got to see him, and then he went super early in the draft. So Shadon Sharpe, very, very, very talented wing. And Anthony Edwards kind of mold, big, strong, really, really athletic. Like, I know Anthony Edwards is elite athletic. Shadon Sharpe is also very elite athletically, and we're about to get to see him get a lot of minutes. So that Blazers team is a surprise good team. Again, we'll see how they tread water without Lillard for a few weeks here. Surprise good player. You talked about it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best player in fantasy basketball. He is doing everything right now. We'll see if his shooting numbers continue to stay high. Keldon Johnson is the reason the Spurs are killing it, and Jakob Poeltl is playing really well. So this, Keldon Johnson is a good player who's really who's kind of stepping it up, all-star level numbers. And then Lauri Markkanen, which I called that. That's one thing I did call. I said Lauri Markkanen and Sexton were going to be monstrous for the Jazz. Sexton not quite there yet, but I think he's coming along as his minutes get up and he comes back from his injury. He missed the whole last season. And then Markkanen is just destroying. I mean, he's putting up fantastic.
Markkanen to the Lakers, is that an option?
I don't know. I don't know enough about contracts and, I just don't know enough about crap like that. Plus, he plays AD's position. I mean, he plays AD's position exactly.
I actually think the blueprint's out on what LeBron needs. He needs a Kyrie and a Kevin Love, and a Lauri Markkanen to me is a Kevin Love. Maybe a little bit less on the rebounding side, but yeah.
Less on the rebounding. Great shooter from the outside, good size, intelligent, good IQ, doesn't do stupid stuff. That's a good comp right there. Obviously, not the same accomplishments yet, but I mean, same type of player.
Correct. Not a big personality, not a big ego. No,
it doesn't seem that way, but he does have a little bit of a mean streak. I've seen some nastiness in him, which is good to see,
My buddy is from Finland. He's a Finn, so.
Yeah, he's Finnish. And then I can only name one other Finnish player. His name was Hanno Metala, and he came from Utah. I don't know if you remember him. He was a big, tall, white guy from Utah, kind of followed in, I think, Andrew Bogut's footsteps. But that's it, man. That's it. I just had some notes jotted down, and we could talk about this stuff forever.
The Heat are a meddling middle team. Not enough to win a championship and not enough to get the amazing picks. It's just an interesting team, man. They're all good. They're probably going to be a 6, 7, 4, 5, 8 seed, depending on how some of those really close games play out. Well coached, but never enough.
Can you see him? Yeah, I mean, can you see him beating the Bucks or the Celtics?
No.
Not a 7-game series. I can't. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I can't see it. But again, injuries are everything. Like you said, availability is the best ability. So we'll see.
Last one. We'll touch on the Raptors. We missed Charlotte. We missed Boston. We're not going to be able to go through all 32 teams, guys. It's early on, but the Raptors are the best rebounding team in the league. Precious Achiuwa is a name to take a look at. He's playing a lot better this year. Any thoughts on the Raptors? Do they have enough? Do they not have enough? Some people thought they were as high as a 1 seed in the East. I'm not a believer in them.
Yeah,
Siakam's playing incredible. Any thoughts to wrap up?
I just got a middle of the pack. I think their ascension in the Eastern Conference standings hinges squarely on the development of Scotty Barnes. And where Scotty Barnes takes his game. Does he take his game to the next level to where he's the clear-cut alpha on that team, or is he still third fiddle to Siakam and Van Fleet? I don't know. I know this. We were talking about depth. They've got a lot of really good players. And like Precious Achiuwa is a great kind of a poor man's Kenneth Faried. Kind of a poor man's Ben Wallace, like a really poor man's
Kenneth Faried. There's a name. That guy was a problem on Denver for a bit.
Yeah, I don't want to get misquoted, but he's kind of like your Ben Wallace type guy. Just wherever the rebound goes, I'm going to get that sucker. And he had 22 boards the other night, I think, right, in extended minutes. And so he didn't get any minutes the first 3 games, hardly at all. And then the last 2 games he played, and he's got some serious rebounding numbers. So, Achiuwa, they got all those kind of long guys. The guy that everybody's really high on that I just never saw it with was OG Anunoby. I just don't see it with him offensively at all. I don't see any natural offensive instincts whatsoever or ability to handle the ball and create for others. I think he's a really good defender. And he's got great, huge, gigantic body, like just huge kid. But I just don't see it. But that's just
so,
me.
Bri, I heard this thing. It's anecdotal. So, like, guys, don't, like, grill me on this. But, like, the heavier a player is, the worse he shoots. If you like, I think Kirk Goldsberry might have put this out. And how many big boys do you really want? Like, this isn't the Goon Squad. And that Toronto Raptors team, I went to see them live at Culture Collision. They played the Hawks. And I was like, dude, Precious is huge. His calves are like meat stacks.
Yeah.
Just jet. And I was like, how many of these guys do you really need? Because eventually you need some.
They got a lot.
You need some shifty guys.
Yeah, I know. They're all about length. They're doing things different, man. Nick Nurse is doing it different. He's got a bunch of switchable guys that are malleable and flexible and can play different positions and guard different positions.
But
and,
linebacker's not one of the positions these guys need to play.
No. Well, we'll see. We'll see how they do. I don't know. I'm going to see them next week. I'm meeting you in Dallas Saturday morning when your flight arrives. But Friday night, my son and I are going to the Mavericks Raptors game. So I'll get a chance to see the Raptors up close and personal. I've been a jinx so far. I got tickets to the Mavs Pelicans game, and the night before, Zion and Ingram and Herb Jones got hurt. So hopefully everybody in the Raptors is healthy, everybody in the Mavs is healthy, and I can see a really good game with Luka against all those long, 3-and-D guys and see how he handles all that length.
So we'll do this. We'll probably do another one of these, like maybe Christmas Day. Maybe we'll go live or something. We'll probably do one at All-Star break and then one before the playoffs. Just fun. We love talking basketball. You guys could kind of do what you want with this in terms of cards and all that stuff. But this is just, our takes, 50 minutes, 55 minutes of just talking ball and having fun.
Yeah, please. People who watch my channel and who watch Luka Nation Network, please make a distinction between what we say about an NBA player's value and his card value, because some of the most valuable players in the NBA, I would never in a trillion years ever consider investing in their cards. I'm not telling you what to collect or what not to collect, but like a Rudy Gobert, for instance, or a Precious Achiuwa. Right. We think those guys are good NBA players that are going to help their team, progress towards a title. But at no point would I ever say, go buy a Precious Achiuwa NTRPA, number 99. So please understand there's a distinction between basketball, fantasy basketball, and basketball cards. Big difference
Anthony
between all
Edwards
three of them.
Is another one.
Yeah.
He's fantastic, but he might be way too high of price. And that's the white space and the opportunity for you.
Price points everything. Yeah, price points everything for sure. Yep.
It's a big debate we're having right now with the Jalen Hurts clips. It's so funny with that Cage clip that we put out where it's like sell Jalen Hurts. And it shows the opportunity that we have with our channel and with our content. People hear it and they're like, oh, they must hate on this player. And it's not about the player. It's about the current price point and how it's performed over the last 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever period of time. Yeah. So I think I'm learning that myself, actually.
I mean, dude, I don't watch a ton of football, so I'm not a football expert. But if you'd asked me 12 months ago, I would have thought there was just as good a chance of Jalen Hurts converting to a running back as being the quarterback today of the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, I just don't see it. I don't watch a lot of football, but I got to watch the first few years of his career, and I was like, I don't see it. Sorry.
Well, they're 7-0. They're playing well. A.J. Brown is a monster.
Yeah.
2 passes into double coverage touchdowns, but Jalen Hurts, if you just go to Card Ladder and you search his index, over the last 6 months, he's up like 125%. Over the last 3 months, he's up almost 100%. So it's
– How many times do we have to see it? Yeah. How many times do we have to see it? If the card goes up too much, too quick, it's going to come down just as quick, just as much. We've seen it over and over, and we've seen it with the GOATs. We've seen it with Brady, Jeter, Jordan, Curry, Giannis. Go down the list. If we saw it with them, we sure as hell have every chance to see it with Jalen Hurts. We'll see.
This time it's going to be different. We love that, right? But this time, because I'm holding him, but this time it's different.
Yeah. Yep. That's tough, man. That's the hard thing about the hobby is knowing when to buy is much, much easier than not only knowing when to sell, but having the balls to do it. Having the balls to sell a guy that you really believe in that's just shown enough, for his cards to go up like that. You want to ride it out to the end. And maybe sometimes that is a good thing, but not most of the time.
Guys, enjoy. This is NBA Recap. If you're watching this Monday, Tuesday, we also did the PWCC, or Brian did the PWCC recap of, everything that happened in the weekly auctions. A lot of good stuff there. A lot of cool cards ending. So we have a ton of content. Basically, every day we have at least 1 or 2 shows going up for you guys. So enjoy, comment, subscribe, share, and we love you guys.
That's it. Guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Subscribe. Hit the notification button.